Bruce Cassidy could see the Golden Knights becoming complacent after having the full lineup back on the ice. Was there anything that he could have done to control the team from becoming complacent? Our discussion next, right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcast, and please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. So Bruce Cassidy could see it coming, perhaps, but he couldn't stop it. VGK became complacent, he felt, when they had their full lineup back in order, back on the ice, over a week ago now. Complacency set in with the Golden Knights because the team perhaps felt that they were already a team of overachievers, right? They had success through December and all of that. The team overall could have settled in. And as I said again, I'm going to point to that San Jose game. I felt that they thought that they could turn it on and off at will whenever they wanted to. And right now they're finding out that that's not the case. And let's talk about VGK, complacency, and did Cassidy expect to see complacency set in?
So if I recall, I believe Barbashev came back in the Islanders game on the 9th, and then on the 11th is when Nick Waugh came back. I think that's how it shook out. And so it was either before the Rangers game or before the Wild game, Coach Cassidy had a presser, and he stated, is this where the players could become complacent because they look around the locker room and they see a full offering of players, a full roster. So you're kind of wondering, okay, is someone else going to step up? Who else is going to step up? So it's weird. It's almost like one of those movies where you see, this weird foreshadowing thing really early in the movie, and then late in the movie, it all makes sense. And that's kind of what happened here. In a way, Cassidy thought this might happen. And could Cassidy have done something to prevent this from happening? And I don't know if I have an answer for that. We'll gab for a little bit, I'm sure, and we'll discuss that. But the fact that it was at least on his mind that once the Golden Knights got back to full health, this could happen. You wonder what could have been done differently. I think they're 4-6 in their last 10, which doesn't look too bad. But then we look at their last 5 games; they're basically what
1-4,
1-4-1 or something like that. Yeah, it's bad.
1-3-1. Yeah,
1-3-1. Yeah, that's bad. And it's because of the opponents is why it's really bad.
You know what I was thinking about yesterday was, let's say Cassidy and VGK, this was the start of the season. He'd be in some trouble right now, right? If this were the start of VGK's season, a little rocky. If they started off like losing 6 of 7 and in a little bit of a hole, it would not be a good way to start a season for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, I think the bigger concern would have been if they didn't have another hot starts, if they didn't bank all those points, for the first 3 months, 2.5 months of the season. But again, we've seen this before, and that's the thing. And that's why I don't know if Cassidy was overly concerned about the possibility of becoming complacent. Maybe it'll lead to the team being better at some point. Just took some notes from his presser yesterday. Not finishing, not getting the timely saves. They're just a little bit off on their chances. He, of course, referenced Jack Eichel's empty netter. Wasn't knocking him, but the reality is Eichel missed an empty netter to get the Golden Knights an additional point. They're a play here, a play there away. I want to go down to the end of my notes here. So the first thing, this is from Cassidy, the first thing he's thinking about after a game is, okay, we're going to work on this, and this at practice tomorrow. And then you have Carlson is gone for hopefully not a maintenance day today, but Carlson did miss yesterday's practice for maintenance.
Of course, he's going to say he's hurt now.
We'll see what happens. Well,
no goals in 14 games. Yeah, I knew this was coming.
If he doesn't pull it practice today, there's a problem. Put to you like that. We saw this with Nick Waugh and how that played out. So let's keep our fingers crossed. At least I'll keep my fingers crossed that Carlson will be back in the lineup on Thursday. Cassidy does expect him back. Cole Schwintz week to week, so it's going to be a while for Cole Schwintz. and Brett Howden missed practice for an illness, which that's going around the world right now. So hopefully Howden will get back for Thursday's game. So Cassidy decided, instead of that old school type of practice, that's putting it mildly, for the coach kicking your butt for 45 minutes to an hour and making you work pretty hard. Cassidy said they cut the practice at least almost in half as far as what they normally did because of less bodies on the ice. And I think he understands that the players acknowledge the situation that they're in, and he doesn't need to make it worse by dragging them down. I mean, is this all of a sudden Bruce Cassidy, the players' coach? This is new. I don't know how to handle
it. Overnight. It was overnight too. It was kind
I don't
of
know. Yeah,
strange.
This is different.
Within 24 hours, he's blasting the goalies, and then he comes back and he's Mr. Kind Guy about practice.
He was still and he was still teeing off a little bit in the presser as far as what he wants to see differently.
Comprised of mostly veterans, right? Why wouldn't VGK's locker room figure it out that they needed to play hard for a full 60 minutes instead of being this complacent team?
It's a fair question. I cite this a lot. You have championship pedigree. You have a championship coaching staff. So they've all been there before. And I think Alex Pietrangelo, hopefully they'll get him on a mic sometime soon, today or tomorrow before the game or something like that. Pietrangelo or even Mark Stone, but I think Pietrangelo in a case like this when the team is struggling is more of a soothing person to listen to. And he's going to simply say, okay, we're going to go back to work tomorrow and get it going. I remember I asked him about this when the Golden Knights had one of their January funks, 1 or 2 seasons ago. And Pietrangelo kind of blew me off, like, go back to work tomorrow. We'll figure it out. Like,
yeah.
Okay. And then, but they do. That's the thing. It's a statement that carries weight because they will get it figured out. And Cassidy said it's going to take one of those low-scoring type of games for, to maybe break the current situation. So look for a tough defensive effort the next time the Golden Knights play the Blues on Thursday or the weekend when they go to Dallas and they come back home against Florida, Dallas, and Columbus. I think you're going to see a major emphasis on defense, which will obviously carry into our second segment too.
Yeah. So, I'm just curious what Cassidy could have done to stem the tide. And so when I worked for this brand that was number one in the world, the message to us was the only thing that could hurt us was us. So we were number one in the category globally. And the only thing that we could do is hurt ourselves. That might be where VGK is at. That it's called complacency, right? Where either you maybe become cocky, you get too used to a routine, or you might be bored with success. So, I mean, we're talking about all of these components that go into being complacent, right? I mean,
something that has nothing to do with
said
sports.
something. You said something too. I know you said that the team looked bored, I think a couple of weeks ago, right?
I think they are bored. I think it's, we're on game, 46, 47, 45, whatever it is.
I don't know. We missed the halfway point, or we started too
only
soon.
by a game. It's because of the schedule, Tony.
Yeah.
So real fast here, we're a long way away from the start of the season. The
Four
Nations
like
is
we're talking
the
to the corporate speak here. You just made
no. But the Four Nations is coming. I think.
Okay.
The break is coming. I think players are looking forward to that aren't going. I think that once the Four Nations is over, it's like, ooh, okay, playoffs are coming. Let's go. And it's because we've seen this before. And back to complacency, I remember back in my corporate days, one of our presidents in one of the rah-rah speeches that we used to get, it was about complacency. And it was an actual good thing to listen to. Most of the time when the corporate suits are talking, it's blah, 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 ignore them for whatever, fine. But simple things like he would suggest, okay, avoid getting complacent. Take a different path to work. Walk a different route through the casino because you do get stuck in routine, whether you're driving to work or in my case, when I'm working in the casino, I'd walk here, I'd walk there, it'd be the same path. I'd probably follow my footprints all the time, and you try to do something a little different, wear a suit combination you don't normally wear, put a different tie on, wear a different pair of shoes, take a different way to work, take streets instead of the highway. I don't know, and again, these aren't tips to the Golden Knights, but the point is, when you do maybe think about things a little bit differently, that does help you to avoid the complacency. And how does that transfer to an NHL player? Maybe not much different than someone working in the corporate world, honestly. Maybe not much different. Maybe just a little change in the routine to get you thinking a little bit differently. And maybe this is an area of opportunity for Coach Bruce Cassidy, but this is not just a Cassidy thing. It was a DeBoer thing. It was a Gallant thing. It's happened, maybe it's just the weather in Vegas, Tony. Maybe it's the weather in Vegas. in
Well, it
January.
makes me complacent. You know what's crazy is every year, uh, the VGK goes through this January swoon of sorts, and then the other teams in the division cannot capitalize. This is an ongoing thing. It's a trend because Edmonton
Oilers
loses right
lost
to
McDavid, so
LT,
they're done.
and they lost to LT, the guy that is number 4 in the rankings for Team Canada,
LT
and
likes
then
nachos, by the way.
what's that have to do with anything?
Because hold on, last night that's pretty good. I caught you off guard there.
You caught me off
So
guard. Yeah.
last night, the Capitals are holding on, I think, to a 3-1 lead in the third period. Corey Perry comes up around the left, just inside the left high faceoff circle, and blasts a shot. And you see Logan start waving his arms like, "Hey, what's this?" Before the shot even happened, right in the area where the shot came from, someone threw a big thing of nachos on the ice. It was just sitting down there.
Oh wow.
It
I didn't see
distracted
that.
him, and they
That's,
allowed the goal. They
they
allowed the
allowed
goal.
the goal.
I was gabbing with him last night. He thought it was the funniest thing, but
And look,
yeah.
you know
So
what? I did see that replay. Why
yeah,
was McCrimmon throwing nachos on the ice?
that's good.
But teams can't capitalize, right? So Edmonton loses. The Kings lost the other night as a big favorite. This happens every year where teams have an
So should we be
opportunity.
concerned, Tony? Because of what you just said right there, should we be concerned?
Well, they're expecting, well, not the way that it plays out, not every
Fine.
year.
We're
I don't
talking about
know
the
what it
result,
is, the
not
lucky
what goes into
horseshoe.
the results.
I don't know what it is. Oh, did you see my guy Shesterkin with Brady Kachuk?
Yeah, where was either Kastelik or Merlanen or whoever the Ottawa goalie is? How does the Ottawa goalie? So we're talking last night, guys. There was a Brady Kachuk did something. A scrum broke out.
He
Shesterkin looked like he was
smashed
hurt.
Shesterkin. He was down for the
Yeah.
count.
So Shesterkin gets in the scrum and just starts throwing haymakers. It was pretty funny. And the Ottawa goalie, I want to know where the Ottawa goalie was. He didn't even do anything. Like,
I
is he
know,
not
I
paying
didn't see him.
attention? Is
I
he
was
afraid of
waiting for him to
Shesterkin?
enter the picture. That would have been terrific.
Yeah, no, that's a spot where it's time to go.
Coming up next, well, the guy,
Segue.
I think there's a jinx factor, going on there. Anyone that got one of these, whoops, the
Oh, it's the
pins.
Carlson one. There you go. Yeah,
Carlson pin. Okay.
You have too many
Anyone
windows
that got
open.
a pin is struggling this season, I think. The
Hurdle
jinx,
got a
right?
pin, didn't he?
Okay, the Hurdle did get one. Did Cassidy get one? Oh no, that was a bust. But in any event, Noah Hanifin is struggling. Will Bruce Cassidy switch VGK's defensive pairings? So we're going to take a look at that and what is up with Hanifin when we return right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Stanley Cup Final, and the Olympics. The same goes for life, like having a strategy, like life insurance. If you have life insurance from SelectQuote, you can protect your financial legacy. That's right, and also keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they have helped more than 2 million people, 2 million customers, and they could find a ton of money, $700 billion of coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart from their personal other companies is their personal touch, I should say. Unlike other brokers that offer one size fits all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit the unique needs of their customers. So if you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million. No medical exam is required, and it's more affordable than you might think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right insurance for you. That's right, for less at selectquote.com/lockdownnhl. Again, go to selectquote.com/lockdownnhl. selectquote.com/lockdownnhl. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Back on this edition of Lockdown Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to our Lockdown Golden Knights YouTube channel. Fridays, I was going to say Friday sometimes. No, every Friday we've got the WTF show. Saturdays sometimes. Is this ever going to happen? The Chris Times Chris Jr. show. Do
I
we
hope
just
so.
quit promoting it, or do we just send people to YouTube every
I'll have a
Saturday for a
conversation with
chance?
Chris about it. I'll have a conversation with Chris about it.
Okay, so Noah Hanifin got off to a very poor start and was repeatedly frustrated, right? When you talk about the start of his season. And then he leveled out some. We have talked repeatedly about Hanifin's inconsistencies. He rode some highs, a lot of lows, plays well for the most part. Check out this stat, okay? I did some stat work last night. This is crazy. I was in the lab till like 2 a.m.
That-
So he plays well for the most part in wins, not so much in losses. In wins, get this number. He is plus 19. In losses for VGK, he is minus 19. That's an incredible stat, folks. I did a lot of homework last night in the lab. So he's consistently, though, right? He's at the bottom of the hockey stat card. And over
That's
the
where I am
last
right
few
now.
games, yeah, he's been up and down. You said that he was like a C student because he rode those highs. He was at the top of the stat card, at the bottom of the stat card. Now he is mired at the bottom of the stat card after the St. Louis loss.
Yeah, so I just pulled up his last 3 hockey stat cards. This would have been the St. Louis, Chicago, and Carolina
Carolina,
games.
yeah,
And he was at the bottom of all 3 of those. At the bottom of all 3 of
at
those.
the very
And then,
bottom.
and then before that, like middle of the road, maybe top third and stuff like that. So it's hard to understand what's happening with him right now. Is this Hanifin's a good defenseman? Let's make sure we start there. And he had a lot of great moments with the Golden Knights, especially when they got him last year. He just kind of came shot out of a cannon, not really knowing the system, and he did pretty well. And he's had some good games. He had a streak where he was on fire, and that was a very short streak. And for what his contract is, for what his expectations are, and the fact that he's out there with Alex Pietrangelo, this shouldn't be happening. And this is more than a January blues, bad pun, but more than a January blues type of situation. This has been the whole season. And like you did say a little bit ago, he's either at the top of the stat card or at the bottom of the stat card. And he's at the bottom of the stat card a lot more than he's at the top of the stat card. And games when he's not at the bottom of the stat card, he's in the minus the lower third of it. So what's going on and what's the fix? I don't know. Maybe it's a systematic thing for him. We've got a good sample size. We've got 50 plus games going back to last year's playoffs and everything. And maybe it's just simply the system for Noah Hanifin doesn't work.
So we've got the pin curse, and Bruce Cassidy has to be mixing up the pairings. I think he did a little bit of that the other night. How will these deep pairings look? Cassidy has to do something.
So early in the season, right? I remember I was very high on the deep pairings and wanting to see some change. And I felt Pietrangelo and Hanifin together was a little bit too much. And I was right because they came out. It was Theodore
Stop
and
being
Hanifin.
so negative.
What's that?
Stop
right.
being so negative.
It was Theodore and Hanifin, I believe, to break the season. And we're like, whoa, okay, that's maybe a little too much juice right there because you got a couple of offensive-minded defensemen right there.
Both quarterbacks on the power play, 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Hanifin, no, he's disappeared from the power play. It's all Theo's show.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's for the good. Although maybe that is part of it. Coach Cassidy did talk about that, and sometimes players they come accustomed to a certain amount of touches touching the puck throughout the game, and when you do take Hanifin away from that, sometimes a player. Again, this is Coach Cassidy, not my perspective. This happened probably a month or 2 ago, but Coach Cassidy said sometimes a player will push to get those additional touches on the puck. And I mean, okay, Pietrangelo, Hanifin, we're not a fan of. Hanifin and Theo was challenging. It was
too
challenging.
Too much juice. Too much juice.
Hanifin and Haig. I thought those two had some real nice chemistry last year.
Huh.
I really did. I thought those two played very well together on a pairing. You can put McNabb with anybody in this lineup.
Yeah,
you can
for
put
sure.
McNabb with anyone on this lineup. Is the simple change maybe White Cloud with McNabb, and that becomes your third pairing? And then your second pairing, what's left on the board would be Pietrangelo and Theodore. That could be something to talk about. Another thing potentially that you could mix in there. I mean, Pietrangelo and McNabb, I don't know if that's the answer. Pietrangelo and Haig, maybe. But I do think breaking up Hanifin and Pietrangelo is necessary right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to agree with you there. And Shea Theodore, let's talk about him too in this segment because I think he's very much content now with his new contract. You predicted a breakout season for him, career season, if you will. He has stayed healthy, which is a great thing. And then 5 goals, 38 assists so far. And number one, obviously, on the number one power play unit for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, the way that Theodore has been playing, it minimizes what Hanifin could do, time on the ice and everything else, right? I would have to imagine, yeah.
Kale McCarr, Quinn Hughes, Roman Yossi, Zach Rowensky. I think those are like your top four Norris candidates right now. Um, I'm not sure where the next wave starts, but it's not far off from where Shea Theodore would be in that conversation.
Uh-huh.
Shea Theodore quietly is on pace for 74 points.
Isn't
He's
that
got
crazy?
43 points in 46 games. He's a +8 also. So he's not taking unnecessary chances that are leading to bad things happening on the other side. Shea Theodore, 1 goal on the power play, 16 assists on the power play. So that means he still has 22 points, 22 assists, and 4 goals, 5-on-5. So what's not to love about Shea Theodore this season? This definitely is a career season. But to be fair, this isn't far off from his pace. Theodore has had many pockets of extended play where he will be a point per game player or very close to it. Health is the only thing that we're going to keep an eye on right now because that's about the only thing that's going to hold him back. Sure, there's going to be some type of adjustment. He'll slow down a little bit like the rest of the team has lately. But for now, you look at what he's doing. If he can stay healthy and put in, 78, 77, 80, 82 games, he would be maybe top 5, top 6 in the Norris voting, which is I don't know if that would even trigger any votes or anything like that, but he would at least be among the dark horse candidates. And who knows if he does go on some type of tear, he could put himself in that conversation. Are you going to throw Werenski, Quinn Hughes, and Kale McCarr off the top 3 as the finalists? I don't think that's going to happen unless there's an injury or something like that. But Theodore is inserting himself among the elite defensemen in the National Hockey League.
Yeah. And so Theodore has prospered ever since Bruce Cassidy had said that he wanted the defenseman to join the rush and to be more
Woohoo,
aggressive.
green light. I'm in.
Think about this though, right?
It's a hall
So
pass
his
right there.
Yeah, so he has prospered and Hanifin has not. So maybe the structure, and I don't know, maybe it has definitely hurt Hanifin. I'm starting to wonder, ever since that point, yeah, he was struggling early on. We remember he had an awful start. He couldn't find the net and he just looked like he was lost in space. Then again, as I said, he leveled out of sorts. And then now, after Cassidy says, okay, we want the defenseman to be more offensive. We need another wave of shooters, scorers, what have you. And now Hanifin has not adapted to that system. So maybe it's something that's systematic here and something that Hanifin cannot adapt to.
Hanifin and McNabb might be an interesting pairing. I think they'd both be left-handed
Lefties,
shots.
right? Yeah.
They're both lefties, so that's a moderate concern. McNabb could play center if he needed to and do a good job. I mean, that's how versatile. McNabb's not a center, but you understand where I'm
Well, with
going
the
with
Silver
that.
Knights, he could be on the first line,
That's
probably
also
as a
fair.
center.
So listen, who is Noah Hanifin from an offensive perspective? Let's make sure we understand this because I think a lot of people didn't last year. Noah Hanifin last year combined 47 points between the Flames and the Golden Knights. His career high is 48 points in 81 games for the Flames in 21-22. A lot of seasons in the mid 20s, mid 30s, and things like that. So he's a good player. And a lot of people, again, we had local media, Noah Hanifin, dark horse Norris candidate. I thought that was a very that was a reach. I guess I'll put it like that. But it would have been nice if it would have happened. It's not going to. But where we're going here is Hanifin right now, 21 points, 47 games. He's pacing for 37 to 38 points. So he is who he is on the offensive side. Now the defensive side, he's a great skater. He's a great a great transitional skater. but is there enough to not be a liability out there? And how
Mm,
can we call Noah Hanifin a liability? Well, I mean, don't look at my stats. Look at his stat cards. Look at everything. For a team that has a decent goal differential, Hanifin's a zero. He's a
yeah.
zero right now.
Isn't that
Plus
funny
minus
though?
a zero.
Well, yeah. Like I said, plus 19 in victories, minus 19 in losses. That tells a huge story here
No, that's a
when you're
great stat. It really is.
talking about Hanifin. And so, but again, when they started off, and I just think the system right now is to the detriment of the development of Hanifin because the start of the season, right? Who was it? Was it Hanifin and Petrangelo, or Theo and
Hanifin and
Petrangelo?
Theo,
Hanifin and Theo. Okay, where they were both
all gas,
below.
no brakes.
Remember, they were all both below the goal line, like in the preseason. A lot of confusion, and they really weren't adapting as they pinched all the way down below the goal line. So there was a lot of confusion, and maybe it just again, I think it's something with the system right now that is impacting or affecting Hanifin. I do, and
Yep.
it doesn't matter if he's that elite goal scorer, but defensively he's got to play better, and he's got to well, maybe he's the reason why they're losing games, and he's the reason why they're winning games. Obviously, with that
Yeah.
plus minus, that's the craziest number I've ever seen.
It's very fair. I know we're going long here, but let's see what Coach Cassidy has up his sleeve. It seems like there's no wholesale changes going into the Blues game tomorrow night, but I don't think the Golden Knights are that far, and Coach Cassidy is not that far away from blowing everything up, which is, I guess, is a good segue. There we go.
Coming up next, speaking of blowing things up, time to break up the forward lines. We'll talk about that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's right, that's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps you into each and every game. It's very exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid immediately, instantly, no waiting around for your winnings. Whether you are betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has got you covered. And it is time for this time of season, Propomania. A lot of props floating out there, and that's what makes it a lot more fun and exciting. So just visit fanduel.com and you can join today. Get started with $300 in bonus bets at fanduel.com. Fanduel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony
Propomania, that was
Cardasco.
awesome, by the way. Sorry, that
I
was
threw that
awesome.
in there. I
I
don't
love
know.
that. That was good. I love that. Okay, keep going.
Sometimes I have gems when I ad
No,
lib, but
Propomania was
otherwise,
good. I like that. That was awesome. Someone should jump on that. Go
okay, that's
copyright that.
gonna. I'll hear it on the next VGK broadcast. You think Propomania?
Jeez.
So we appreciate everyone tuning in. Don't forget Fridays WTF, Saturday sometimes Chris Times Chris Jr. show. Please subscribe to our Lockdown Golden Knights YouTube channel. And I've come full circle because I am agreeing with you now, Chris, that Pavel Dorofeev should be on the top line and move Mark Stone down to the second line and add some punch to this lineup. And now you have two pretty much equal threats, right? Two lines that teams are going to have to prepare for rather than just the top line.
Yeah, I don't think we're a line blender away. I don't think we're in a line blender situation. Waugh, Pearson, Kolesar, fourth line. That's where Kolesar should be. And Kolesar does have the ability, if there's injuries and stuff, to help out. But
I forgot to add Alexander Holtz on the second line.
right, jeez. That line right now is Carlson, Holtz, and Howden. Holtz shouldn't hurt that line, which is a bad spot for us to be talking about that right now. And again, Holtz, I think, will be a fine NHL player, but we're talking about players not adjusting to his system. I think Holtz is in that same is and it's hard. It's harder for Holtz to do it as a younger player to adjust to the VGK system. He's going to be on the Paul Cotter career path right now, right? He's going to play 55, 60 games for the Golden Knights. A move's going to get made that's going to see Holtz miss the most important games and the playoffs when that happens, and that's fine. Maybe Holtz will develop into a good player. Maybe he'll get shipped out of here. Who knows? But again, we're talking about a 23-year-old as of tomorrow. His birthday's tomorrow, Tony.
Oh, wow.
Happy early birthday, Alex Holtz, because we'll forget
Alex
tomorrow.
Holtz, happy birthday, bro.
So,
yeah, nice
third
shout
line,
out.
Carlson, Holtz, Howden. Howden, another goal against the Blues. Good to see. Second line, I'm getting more comfortable in my mind with Hurdle, Olofsson on the left, and Mark Stone on the right. Tough line to play against. Olofsson's going to find some soft ice out there. He's going to find some open areas. And then on top, Dorofeev, he's the team's best scorer. Jonathan Marchessault was the team's best scorer last year. Why? Because everyone says he was on Jack Eichel's line. Jack Eichel made Mark Stone score, or made Jonathan Marchessault be a 40-goal scorer. Okay, fine, great. I'd love to see Pavel Dorofeev on that top line as a 50-goal scorer, because that's how lethal of a scorer he is right now. And then you still got Barbashev out there to kind of muck things up and create space for Jack and for Dorofeev. So I think that move might be coming at some point. It's just a hunch. This is a hunch, but I think it could be coming.
So we've got Cole Schwint now week to week. Brett Howden missed practice yesterday, as did Vegas Bjorn, right? So an illness for Brett Howden, and we'll see what happens there.
Carlson's the one to watch there. Carlson, maintenance day is now a scary term. And
maintenance day
to day, but Nick Waugh started maintenance
day to day,
and then he missed 3 weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah, no, and it beat me to the punch there, because on yesterday's show I had it on the napkin. We're going to hear that Carlson is injured at some point.
Well, and Carlson's been playing. Listen, Tony, you're not wrong. I know people love to drag you when you say anything negative about Carlson, but the reality is he's not playing as well right now.
14 games without a goal.
14 games without a goal. I'm sure he's still checking his defensive responsibilities box, but you're talking about a player who scored 30 goals last year on a team that has lost a lot of goal scoring. You need Carlson to do better than he's doing, and you wonder if there is some type of injury that is slowing down his ability to score goals right now. It's fair, and he's also had, just like every season for Carlson, different line mates and stuff like that too. That's something to acknowledge, but he did it last year with different line mates too, so maybe it shouldn't matter.
Cassidy said that the team perhaps is fatigued. 3 games in 4.5 days. Not an excuse, but he has to throw that number out there. So we'll see how they come back now. They've had a couple of days now to rebound, and they're going to try to bounce back on Thursday night against the Blues in St. Louis. So who meets them in St. Louis? It's a movie title, Meet Me in St. Louis. Will it be like a Ron Bjork? Who's going to get the call up, or what happens there?
Probably Ron Bjork will go as the extra skater, right? The Golden Knights aren't going to want to go with just 18, with just 12 forwards.
Not Brisson.
I'm not going to make a case for Brisson, although he did have the game winner against Tucson the other nights. We'll see. Little Chris is going to be the anthem buddy on Friday night, so he'll get to skate out with the Silver Knights before the game starts. And
what is this? Hang on, time out. I saw a promo for this somewhere, I think on the Employee of the Year's Facebook page. So what is this? Tell us what's happening this week.
So, yeah, Chris, we got the email. Every game they have someone from the youth hockey program that gets to go out before the game and when the national anthem is played. And they stand on the blue line right next to the Silver Knights goalie, and they're in their full hockey gear and everything and all that. So Chris will be out there rocking his Shearwood wood hockey stick that weighs more than any of the players' sticks.
Great. And, That's great. He's going to have the big stick
last
on
year
the ice.
Pretty cool. We got to do it again this year, so it'll be nice.
Tell him he needs to trip someone up with that stick. That would be kind of fun.
It's a long stick. That's why he scored his goal the other day. That long reach.
Oh yeah, and thanks for the video that you posted for the big fall.
Oh, that was great. Oh my God,
that looked like that looked like Fred Flintstone on the ice or something.
It happened in slow motion.
It looked like it.
It literally
as long as he didn't get hurt.
Motion.
Was only the pride hurt?
I'm fine. A little bit of whiskey and Tylenol, we're good. Together. No, but I got a great view of the sky as I was going down. Like it happened. Like I thought I was going to catch myself, and it looked like it happened in a second and a half from the moment I slipped to the moment I fell, and I feel like 38 seconds went by, but it was fun.
We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers around the globe. I like saying that. It just sounds like we're bigger than we are. Of course, thank you so much. Don't forget Friday's WTF. Line up all of your comments. They never get negative about me, I'm sure. I deserve to have my own pin next year. And that would be the big ultimate jinx. Of course, Saturday, sometimes we've got the Chris Times Chris Jr. show. For my man, Chris Golick, I am Tony Cardasco. It is Panic at the Dasco for VGK. I put that on there. Saw that. Of course, we'll see you again tomorrow right here with a preview of VGK against St. Louis on the road again. And please take care.